Elgin Baylor, the greatest Laker that almost no one talks about. He was a 6'5" small forward who played in the 60s and early 70s. His game possessed a combination of grace and power. He was a fantastic all-around player, but for several reasons, his legacy has been overlooked, and he doesn't get talked about among the greats nearly as much as he should be. By the end of this video, you may see that this guy was way better than you initially thought. So let's take it back to the beginning of his career and get into it. Baylor was drafted in 1958 with the first overall pick by the Minneapolis Lakers. He was an older rookie by NBA standards, but as a 24-year-old rookie, he put his skills on display, averaging 24.9 points, 15 rebounds, and 4.1 assists on 41% shooting. It was good enough to win the Rookie of the Year award. These numbers are extremely impressive, and I understand that stats are somewhat inflated in the early NBA as they are today, and that might have something to do with Baylor's high rebound numbers, but it's definitely not the whole story. Baylor knew how to use his body and athleticism to dominate the boards, despite the fact that he was just a 6'5" small forward. He ranked 3rd overall in rebounds in his rookie season, and every other player in the top 7 in rebounding that year was at the center position and significantly taller than Baylor. Elgin said that upon entering the NBA that his goal was to average 20 rebounds a game over the course of a season. In his 3rd season in the league, he averaged 19.8 rebounds, and the following year he averaged 18.6. For his career, he averaged 13.5 rebounds as a 6'5" small forward. When it came to getting rebounds, he was essentially Dennis Rodman before Dennis Rodman, except Rodman wasn't a 30 points a night kind of guy like Baylor was. Elgin was one of the greatest scorers the NBA has ever seen. He was a strong player who was fantastic with his back to the basket, and he was tremendous at finishing in the paint. Baylor was also known for his hang time and would often wait out his opponent in the air before he released his shot. Many who witnessed Baylor play, and even the greats who played with him, have described him as Dr. J before Dr. J, Jordan before Jordan, and Kobe before Kobe. The stats back it up too. As I mentioned earlier, in his first year he averaged 24.9 points, and then he averaged 29.6 in his second year and 34.8 in his third year. By his 4th year in the league, he had become the most dominant wing in the NBA, averaging video game numbers of 38.3 points, 18.6 rebounds, and 4.6 assists on 43% shooting. Through his career, 18 times he scored 50 or more points. That's the 5th most in NBA history. That's more than Iverson, Durant, LeBron, Gervin, and many other scorers of the NBA's rich past. Among those 50-point games was a contest in 1960 against the New York Knicks, where he torched them for 71 points and 25 rebounds on 58% shooting. At the time, this was the highest scoring performance in NBA history. In fact, for a while, he held the record for most points in a game, in a playoff game, and in a single half. I remember when Kobe was tearing it up in the mid-2000s, and every time he set some kind of scoring record, they would always say no one has done this since Elgin Baylor did it. Not Wilt, not Kareem, not Shaq. Elgin Baylor. He has the 3rd highest career points per game average of all time. Only Wilt and Jordan are ahead of him on that list. When analysts talk about the greatest scorers of all time, they usually talk about James Harden, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James. Yet Elgin averaged more points for his career than all of those guys. Beyond that, he was also an 11-time All-Star and made 10 All-NBA teams. He was a great defensive player as well. Unfortunately, I can't prove it to you with numbers because steals and blocks were not accounted for during his playing days. They didn't even have all-defense teams, but he almost certainly would have made appearances if they did. He clearly sounds like one of the greatest ever, so that leads us to ask, why exactly is he so overlooked if he's truly that good? Well, there's a couple reasons for this. For one, he's a Los Angeles Laker, and the Lakers have the richest history of talent the NBA has seen. Not only that, but Laker lore is defined and remembered by one thing: championships, which is something that Baylor never got. Baylor was 0-8 in the finals. Now, although they did have some hard-fought 7-game series, it's not completely his fault that he never won a ring. For example, this was the era of the stacked Celtics dynasty, and because there was no free agency at this time, the Celtics were allowed to stay stacked during that entire era. Eventually, the Lakers acquired Wilt Chamberlain, and with Wilt, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor, the Lakers finally had the super team necessary to dethrone the Celtics. But this was towards the end of his career. In his final year, Baylor was 37 years old, and knee issues only allowed him to play 9 games before the injury essentially forced him into retirement. He missed out on 2 incredible accomplishments because of this. The first was the Lakers' 33-game winning streak, which is still an NBA record to this day. The second was the Lakers won the championship that season. Although he technically wasn't an active player during the championship, the Lakers organization still chose to give him an NBA championship ring. Missing out on those bits of history certainly affects his legacy and plays a part in why he's overlooked. The other reason why he's overlooked is because it's hard to get attention for averaging 38 points and 18 rebounds when Wilt Chamberlain is out there in Philadelphia averaging 50 points and 25 rebounds and scoring 100 points in a game. When people remember and talk about the 1962 NBA season, they don't talk about Baylor's impact, they talk about Wilt's dominance. Whether it's fair or not, the reality is Lakers lore and Wilt Chamberlain have both played a part in overshadowing Baylor's legacy. Regardless of all of this, the truth is Elgin Baylor is one of the greatest scorers ever. He's one of the greatest rebounders ever. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest player to never win a championship. And he's one of the greatest Lakers ever. And yet somehow he's still rarely talked about. This is why, in my honest opinion, Elgin Baylor is the most underrated player of NBA history. Let me know in the comments section if you agree. Is Baylor the most underrated player ever? Also let me know if you think Baylor could dominate in today's NBA, or if you think he was a product of his era. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content, and I will see you guys in the next video.